seminars and conference, and has more than 37 research papers publication to her credit in various national journals. Seminar proceedings having ISSN and ISBN numbers. She has successfully completed two fully funded international research projects and one consultancy project from Royal Wallenberg Institute of Human Rights and Humanitarian Law, Sweden, for the project titled Model Handbook on Implementation of SDGs by the Local Governments for Protecting Human Rights Related to Environment Protection and Gender Equality for the period of October 2022. She has received minor research project on the topic critical analysis of laws related to data protection with special reference to data privacy in India. She has been invited as a resource person in various international, national and state level events. Madam will speak on data protection. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, Padma. So, dear participants, as we have already discussed about the privacy and technological interference. So I am going to just continue with that session, and we are going to discuss about how that interface of technology with privacy created the element of informational privacy, and what are the challenges and threats we are facing. And if time permits, certainly we will discuss about the legal aspect of it. This we are discussing on the basis of the unit 1 of your coursework, wherein we will be covering like law and technology, and then some of the fundamental rights, particularly privacy, freedom of speech and expression, and then its interference with technology. So this is one such aspect wherein in this session we will be discussing about the informational privacy. If you have any queries, you can just write it down in the chat box, and we can discuss it at the end of this session. Okay, fine. As I have already said, we are going to talk just for a second. Just imagine that this is a continuation of Girish sir lecture. So I will not be talking about what privacy is all about. I'm just assuming that now you all are aware about what privacy is. Okay. So considering privacy as it is, which has been explained by Dr. Girish, I am going to talk about first data, and then how this data affects the privacy element. Now, we all are aware that whenever there is this concept of data, it does not accumulate as it is. There is some process of creation of that data. And again, creation of that data is not something, which we can say that this is a very new thing, which has happened because technology is there, etc., etc. But believe me, friends, this is one of the procedure or one of the aspect of human civilization which we have seen since probably our inception. For example, all the ancient texts, like Vedas, Upanishads, Purans, what is all that? They are nothing but compilation of work. Okay, they are nothing but compilation of thoughts which is available in the form of data, and then we know it as Vedic data, ancient data, or mythological data, something like that. So we have combined all of them as per our requirement, and this is how we have created a data. And while creating this data, we try to see to it that a unique content is created. Just now I have give you example of Vedic data, so we have created that. It's a unique thing which is there with us. And like whenever, for example, we have seen that when we talk of sources of law, certainly we always look back and see that what our cultures, what our traditions are giving to us, and then we try to form the law as it is. Why? Because that part is available. The identification of that activity or recognition of that activity is available in the ancient text or earlier text, and that is why with that content what we are creating a data. So creation of data is certainly not something which is very, very new. Now, one more example I would like to quote here, that we all believe in this process of karma. And I think, to many of us this was known, like this was, we have been told for like many years of our life, that if you do good, then you will go to heaven, but if you do bad, then you will go to hell. And who is going to evaluate this heaven and hell? We know that, this is the story which has been told to all of us. I mean, we know that when we go after our death, when we go in front of God, and then Mr. Chitragupta is there, Lord Chitragupta is there, and he is going to assess that this much, uh, like, pap you have committed, and this much punya you have achieved, and on the basis of that data of pap and punya, we are going to be allotted whether we will go to heaven or hell. Now this is something which is known to us, and we are connecting here accumulation of data kind of thing. So whatever karmas we are doing, they are going to get accumulated, and they are going to decide what is going to happen to me once I die, or whether I will give some another life or whatsoever. So all those things are there which has been described, and that is why I'm saying that collection of data or creation of data is not something which is very new to us. Only the medium has been changed, fine, but other aspects that we are accumulating the information remains the same. And that is why when there is this accumulation of information, and with technology, this huge information, lots and lots and lots of information, which is probably we cannot even recognize, and then that information, that data is available with us, and then what we do is we try to analyze that data, because we cannot just store it. Okay, we have to use that data. So data analysis is done. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि पाप और पुण्य में then analysis is done, and on the basis of that analysis we have been allotted. Like, this is what the whole thing is all about. So data analysis is there, and with this data analysis we have seen that societies has been progressed. We have came a very long way, from stone age to this contemporary age of technology, as per our needs, as per our requirement, as per our understanding, as per our experiences, as per our knowledge, and then creation of pool of knowledge, we have seen that we have progressed. And while progressing that, the component of data becomes very, very important. So when I say data, so don't just get scared that, okay, this is a new technological thing. No, it was there. It was there since ages. Only the thing is that the mode has been changed. Okay. Now, what is data? Now, when technological interference is there, I am talking about the year 2000, when technological interferences were recognized, and then at that time, this definition was given. Now, we all are legal people, we know that unless and until something is there in black and white, we don't believe. Okay, and for creating that belief, what we had is that we had this definition. Now, my dear friends, there are two aspects. Okay, one is the concept of data, and another is the concept of information. Now, to some of you, this two might appear as same, but as we go into the details of it, we recognize that these two things are not same. Why so? The answer first lies here in this. Now, here Section 210 of IT Act says that any representation of information, knowledge, facts, concepts or instructions which are being prepared or have been prepared in a formalized manner and is intended to be processed and is being processed or has been processed in a computer system, computer network, or maybe in any form including computer printout, etc., will be called as data. Now what they have saying here is that representation of information or knowledge. So representation means whatever thing is there, you are going to present it in some form or some another form. Now, when such type of collection is there and when huge information is collected, we do call it as data. But when I go from information, data to information, we have to see that this has been organized. Like number one, data, you can say a very generic thing, a big thing which is there, and one of the part part of that data is information. So when it is organized, when it is represented, when it has been bifurcated in such a way that you can easily see the difference between an organized data and an unorganized data, then we say that that organized data is nothing but information. Okay, because there are filters, because there are identification criteria which are there in that particular data, and that's why we call it as information. So data is a big generic thing and information is a specific aspect of that data, and this is the biggest difference. Because see, we are here talking about informational privacy. When we, in normal circumstances, when we talk about data, so we talk from a very broader perspective, that whatever thing which has been collected together. But when we talk of informational privacy, we need to be very selective, because we are not talking about every damn thing, which is a part of data, but we are talking about a very selective approach or very selective aspect of data which is affecting my privacy. Okay, and that is why this bifurcation has been made. Initially we do talked about data privacy, but eventually when a constitutional interference is there, then we need to look it from the point of view of information privacy. Only data privacy, suppose if we want to talk, then certainly we are more talking it from the technical point of view, like how technological security, firewalls, and virus attacks have been prevented, etc., etc. So probably they all talk about data security, but I am talking about informational privacy. So a very selected part of that data which is going to be a part of that information. Now what happened basically, when we talk of data, so on one hand there are, you can see that there are multiple methods. Okay, multiple methods of collecting the data, like the contemporary methods. For example, we have automatic data, we have data created through artificial intelligence, we have data which has been created by the virtual realities, we have data which has been generated through machine learning system, we have data which has been created through conversion from a very traditional mode like books to the digitalized mode wherein e-content has been generated. So there are ample of ways wherein we have seen that the data has been created or the data has been collected. And while collecting this data, now this is one thing. Now you can say that what is the big problem here? Yes, data is there and it has been collected, so it is good. So what is happening here, when this process of data collection is there, there are at two phase, or you can say two agencies simultaneously are working on this data. Number one, it is the government and governmental agencies, okay, who are working towards collecting the data, doing the data analysis, and creating the outputs from the basis of the data which they have. And then there is this private agencies, for example Airtel or anywhere, wherever you give your mobile number. Just imagine that whenever you give your mobile number to whomsoever, your data has been generated. So there are multiple ways. One is by the government through its agencies, and the other is by the corporates through their franchisees and other agencies, non-governmental agencies which are creating. So both the things are now coming together. Okay, on one part government is creating a data, on the other part the private sector is creating data, and eventually what is happening, a public private partnership has been created. A very good example of this is let us say your passport thing. Now whenever you apply for a passport, and we all know that the passports has been issued by the government of India, but the whole thing, the whole processing has been assigned to TCS, okay, Tata Consultancy Services. So what is happening here? Here there is a public-private partnership wherein the private organization is providing all the technical help which is required, and the government is providing the sanctions, through which the passport has been issued. And then there is a public private partnership wherein probably TCS is saying that we will not sell the data which we are generating for this issuance or renewal of passport or whatsoever. So what is happening? A data is created, okay, public private partnerships ke through a data is created. But when this data is created, we need to see that there are three perspectives basically, wherein this data creation has been looked upon. Number one is the personal freedom. Now what is happening to my personal freedom when these two things, public and privates, are coming together? Number two, what is the organizational integrity here, like how far they are accurate, how far they are completing the procedures. And then the third is private revenue, who is generating the revenue with that data, because these three are important factors because of which my informational privacy might get affected. Okay, now as we will come down to that aspect as well. Now when I talk about personal freedom, as Girish sir has already mentioned us, we have personal freedoms, and those personal freedoms have been taken care, whether it is MP Sharma or whether it is Kharak Singh, or eventually we have seen that there are multiple case laws, whether it is Ashok Kumar or any other case you can see. There are multiple ways wherein we have seen that privacy has been protected or identified or recognized, and eventually that freedom is protected. But when the medium has changed, now in earlier cases cited by Dr. Girish, we know that okay, no police person can come at night, you cannot detain any person at home or whatsoever. So these were the aspect wherein physically we are talking about privacy, that I should be allowed to go wherever I want to go. I have been given that freedom of choice by the constitution, but only in reasonable circumstances, or only through the procedure established by law that can be curtailed. Okay, so this has been proved. But what is happening now, knowingly or unknowingly, we are transforming this aspect on digital. Now I can give you one example, that right now we all are into dual existence thing. Number one is my physical presence, okay, I am sitting here, and number two is my webex presence, I am there. Now I can tell you, you can see many of you who are switching off their cameras probably may not be attending the lecture, probably may not be aware about what is going on, but they are doing some other work. Now in such situation, what is happening, your digital presence is marking the attendance. Okay, you have been attending but your camera is off, but your presence has been registered. Similarly, you are doing some other work, so physically you are doing something. Okay, so that other parallel world is also going around. So we are into this dual existence. So what is happening here is, my one privacy is when I am physically present. Okay, so my privacy in my physical form, but at the same time my privacy in the digital form. So now what is happening to my personal freedoms? I know for physical freedoms there is this constitutional provision which is very sound enough, which provides me the protection. But when the same thing appears on the digital mode, okay, when my same presence is there at the digital mode, I am not sure how far my privacy is been protected. So personal freedoms needs to be evaluated. Similarly, organizational integrity. Now if let us make it little bit interactive session now, instead of uh, getting bored, just tell me, I don't know how to make it broad. Can anyone tell me how many of you have given uh, your mobile numbers or something to some shops? किसी ने दिया है क्या अभी तक किसी को मोबाइल नंबर?
Ma'am, mostly everybody asks these days.
Okay. So how to enlarge this window? I'm not getting. Uh,
Ma'am, double
okay.
tap on it first. There is a
Yeah, that's
icon
what I was
right
checking
hand side.
about. Collapse में आ रहा है.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. So how many of you, all of you have given their mobile number at some point or the other to somewhere?
Yes,
Even
ma'am.
you can
Yes,
go
ma'am.
to some medicine shop and you must have given
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
the
ma'am.
number.
Mobile number. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
yeah.
And then
Medicine shop.
in the end, they will say that if you give me your mobile number, I can give you 5% discount, 10% discount.
No, 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 no.
Not
Not
like
like
that,
that,
of course.
Not like,
But they
but
have
you have given. And
given.
not
Yes,
only
ma'am.
that, there are multiple places, okay, multiple places wherein we have shared our mobile numbers, okay, or for that matter, your address. Okay, my screen is visible to you all now. Is my
Yes,
screen
ma'am.
visible? Okay. So what is happening here that we are giving our mobile numbers, we are giving our uh, details like what do you do, where do you work, or what are your likings, such type of things to multiple places. Okay, many of you must have Mintra or Amazon, and sometimes we just do digitally window shopping. We don't buy anything, but we just scroll on. So what is happening here is, knowingly or unknowingly, your data of your likings, data of your information has been generated by that particular organization. Now, when that data has been generated, we never question about the data integrity here. Okay, we we feel that okay, everything is fine unless and until it is coming to me, but we don't know exactly that this particular creation of data, the thing which we have created, like the thing which we have given, when we give mobile numbers, when we give our address, when we give, sometimes somebody may ask you about your blood group, something like that. So we are giving that information to a particular organization, and what they are doing with that data, we never asked. Now all these medical shops, all these malls, all these Amazon and other companies, wherein your data you are feeding, for that matter, even your banks, so they are having lots of data with you, which is being sold. So now that creates a question on organizational integrity as well, because see, private companies, they will do it for revenue, because data is gold. Okay, now data is known as the new gold or new asset, in the market. So if you can buy some data, buy it, because that is going to provide you with more perks than probably any land or movable or immovable property is all about. Okay, so this is how this data market works, and data is generated through the public private partnership, and this makes us more vulnerable. Now even with your simple email address, everything can be traced out. With your simple mobile number, how much money you have with you in 1 or 10 accounts can be understood. Or even with smallest of your email address, we can identify all your digital footprint. So this is all, on the cloud, everything is available, and your virtual existence is more reachable, has more outreach than your physical appearance, and that is why that makes us more and more vulnerable. And in order to safeguard ourselves, we must understand that it needs to be protected. Now, as I have said, number one thing which we have to identify is technology does not discriminate. Okay, now Girish sir has already talked about constitution, and we know that under constitution or in our constitution we have number of provisions, wherein we talk about protective discrimination, wherein we talked about various exemptions, various exceptions, wherein we say that this should not be discriminated, this should not be discriminated, this, equality amongst equal and all that. But when it comes to technology, no such thing appears. It does not differentiate. You belong to a particular caste, you belong to a particular gender, you belong to a particular financial status. No. Okay. All of us are same when it comes to virtual world and when it comes to the use of technology. It does not discriminate. It does not happen that a data plan at my place is different than a data plan at somebody else's place. No, it is one and the same thing if we have got the same data packs. So technology never discriminates. So what happened? This technology allows, to create various forms of data. The first type of data is the normal data, okay, general data which is created, which is as per us, very, very basic data. And then there is something called as sensitive data. Normal data may, for example, your date of birth, or your like you all are doing this pre-PhD coursework work, so you have enrolled for that. So this is a normal data. Okay, I am a law professor or I am a law teacher, so I am working in this department. I have my CV uploaded on the website. Normal data. Okay, I have created it. But then there is something called as sensitive data. Sensitive data is my DNA combination, my biometrics, my blood group, and my sexual orientations. So these are the sensitive data which are there. And then there is certain personal data. Personal data is about my likings, is about my views, is about my experiences. It is about what do I prefer, whom do I support. आजकल तो elections में they use all your data. Cambridge Analytica is the best example here. Okay, so what is happening? We are indulging ourselves into creation of lot of data. So normal data, sensitive data, personal data. At the same time, we are creating some desktop variety data. Means some data which is a very generic data, okay, general form of data which is there, that it is expected. If you don't do this, you will not be able to do something else. So this is a desktop variety data that it is there within that organization, and probably it will not be used for any other purpose. But then there is something called as non-desktop variety desktop variety data, which is apart from this desktop, it can be used for any other purpose. And again, a very good question I want to ask: how many of you have read so far about the content which has been given before clicking on I agree? किसी ने किया है क्या कभी? I agree पे क्लिक करने के पहले कभी कुछ पढ़ा है?
No, ma'am.
नो. अभी नेक्स्ट टाइम से पढ़ के देखना. सबसे पहले तो वहां पे कैपिटल में लिखा हुआ था. व्हाई इट इज रिटन इन कैपिटल? बिकॉज व्हेन एवरीथिंग इज रिटन इन कैपिटल, we cannot read it properly, and then after reading one or two line we feel that this should not be read all about. Okay, उसके बाद वो font बहुत छोटा होता है. Again, it is not good for our eyes, and we just skip that part. So what is happening here, that knowingly unknowingly हम I agree पे क्लिक करते हैं. एक अच्छा एग्जांपल मैं आपको देती हूँ. How many of you have Truecaller in your mobile phone? I just want to be interactive. Somehow I don't know how to.
Yeah.
Just
Even I do
see.
have.
एक minute. एक minute. So how many of you have Truecaller? Just नाम से बताइए. Somehow I am not able to see. इसको मुझे बैक नहीं करना हो रहा है. कुछ तो इशू है मेरे इसमें. I think.
I am
Ingole sir.
Truecaller
Kalyani
mobile.
Kapse, madam.
Ingole sir.
अच्छा, कल्याणी कापसे has Truecaller and Ritu has Truecaller.
Yes, ma'am.
Ingole sir.
Ingole sir also has Truecaller. Okay. और
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Megha.
अच्छा, Priyanka also has Truecaller. Good.
Netra.
Okay, so when you have Truecaller, have you noticed जब भी वो Truecaller आप इंस्टॉल करते हो तो वहां पे आता है कि from here in onwards all your SMSs, all your call and all your other records will be there, will be processed through Truecaller. ये आई एग्री के ऊपर लिखा है, जो हम कोई पढ़ते नहीं है। ओके, वी नेवर रेड। एंड देन यू मस्ट हैव सीन कि अभी आप जो भी करते हो, किसी को भी फोन लगाते हो, या आपको छोटा मैसेज भी आता है, या आपका जीपे वॉट एवर मैसेज यू गेट इट थ्रू ट्रू कॉलर। So what is happening here? That Truecaller, with that one small app, Truecaller, it is retrieving and collecting all your data. So दिन भर में कल्याणी ने किसको फोन किया, कितने बार फोन किया, बात करते समय कितने देर बात करी, कितना टाइम वो कॉलिंग में, ये किसने किसने मैसेज किया। ओके, कल्याणी किया आज 4 बार अमेजोन का पार्सल आया, दैट मीन्स वो 4 बार अगर एक दिन में आता है तो शी इज अ पोटेंशियल बायर। सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग हियर is your data, your data has been collected and then your profile has been maintained. So what is happening, ये जो नॉन डेस्कटॉप वेराइटी डेटा होते हैं ना, इसमें ये सारी चीजें होती है जहां पे knowingly unknowingly what is happening, okay, I have to given only Truecaller, but why, what is happening, how does Truecaller knows who is sending me message, who is coming to my home, which post man has delivered at my address, how does Truecaller know? But Truecaller knows because you have allowed them. So this is what happens, when we get involved with so much of technology. So data has been generated through all these aspects. So it is not that only Aadhaar is creating data, or only one form is creating data, but there are multiple ways. Now ये जो diagram इसे थोड़ा हम ध्यान से देखेंगे. Now we will begin here with individual behavior. Now let us say Ritu is there, and what Ritu does is, Ritu is fan of good cooking, and good cooking variety of dishes, etc., etc. So every day Ritu spends almost 2 hours on the mobile apps, maybe a Facebook or Google or somewhere, wherein she just searches for good recipes, good videos. So what is assuming, this is a prosumer concept. Prosumer means जो हमारा potential user है, वो कैसे बिहेव कर रहा है वहां पे. सो हम इंडिविजुअल को एक प्रो प्रोस प्रोस कंज्यूमर टाइप होता है, इट इज अ प्रोज्यूमर टाइप ऑफ थिंग, कि जहां पे वो वहां पे एक पर्टिकुलर टाइप से बिहेव करता है. तो जब वो इंडिविजुअल बिहेव कर रहा है, सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, ही इज क्रिएटिंग अ बिग डेटा. ऑल, जैसे मैंने कहा ना, डेटा वर्सेस इंफॉर्मेशन पे नाउ वी आर कमिंग. सो अ बिग डेटा हैज बीन जनरेटेड. Now when this big data is generated, what happening through statistical learning, I said, okay, every day 2 hours without fail Ritu is searching for food recipe, and then we have analyzed that she does not choose for food recipes, but she choose only for vegetarian recipe, only from a particular chef, or only for a particular style of cooking. So that analysis is done. So through that big data, statistical learning is done. Through that statistical learning, analysis is done. And what is happening, it gives you a behavioral model. Behavioral model में क्या होता है ना, कि when a behavioral model is there, so it identifies that you are going to behave in a particular way. So 3 दिन 4 दिन आप रोज देखिए वीडियो, 5वें दिन अपने आप आपको पॉपअप आ जाएगा, ऑलमोस्ट सेम टाइम पे आता है. ओके, दिस इज द टाइम, आफ्टरनून 2 o'clock शी वॉचेज ऑल द फूड रेसिपी वीडियो, ऑटोमेटिकली इट विल कम, यू डोंट नीड टू. आपका गूगल पेज उसमें रहेगा, आपके सारे whatever websites you choose, everywhere that pop-up will come. So automatically behavioral models create होते हैं, और वहां से क्या होता है, आप predicted target बन जाते हो. So if you see 10 things, you will bulge on to at least one of the 10 things, and automatically आप उस विशिएटिंग सर्कल का पार्ट एंड पार्सल बनते हो, जिसमें आप खुद से वो डेटा क्रिएट कर रहे हो. सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, from a presumed behavior, I want you to behave like this, and then we are making a prediction that you will behave like that. So knowingly unknowingly you are creating data. Another good example is, we have Ola. Every day I come to home, I come to office via Ola. So 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, automatically Ola will send me a coupon. Today you will get 20% discount on Ola ride at this. So it creates a predicted targeted behavior. And all these apps, Zomato, Ola, any true caller, they create your digital footprints. Okay, so what is happening with this type of behavior? A data harvesting is done, and on the basis of data harvesting, data profiling is done. So what is data harvesting? जैसे हम करते हैं ना harvest, बहुत सारी चीजें आती हैं, then we harvest it, we just cut the crop. Similar way में we create a data and then we try to harvest it. Harvest हम कैसे करते हैं? हम category तरीके से करते हैं, wherein on the basis of analysis, on the basis of requirement, on the basis of accessibility, on the basis of potential, potential buyer. रितु 2 घंटा देखती है और मैं 15 मिनट देखती हूँ, so probably I am not the potential prosumer for them, but Ritu is. Okay, so this is what happened. फाइन. सो डेटा हार्वेस्टिंग होता है और हार्वेस्ट करने के बाद उस डेटा का प्रोफाइलिंग होता है वन बाय वन. एंड व्हेन द प्रोफाइलिंग इज डन, it affects your informational privacy, because what I am doing, why I am doing is there restricted only till me. अब तक के लिए ऐसा कहा जाता था कि what is happening within the four corners of wall will be known only to the four corners of wall. But my dear friends, if you are within the four corners of that wall, but if you are with your mobile phone, don't believe that everything will be there within the four corners of wall. No, everything will be there on cloud. Probably the person sitting next to you must not be knowing what you are doing, but the mobile phone knows. The data operating system or intermediary knows, on which site you are, which shopping material you sought for, which ride you want to pick, everything. Okay, and that is why informational privacy gets affected, because now you cannot close the door. Now you cannot say that I am an individual and my individualism needs to be protected. You cannot say that my article 19 is there, it gives me freedom of choices, because your choices is known to the other side via technology. Okay, so you cannot keep here with this that my privacy is affected. Okay, I am not going into the meaning of privacy because it has been already discussed. I just want to show you the progression, that where, as sir has rightly mentioned, we started with 1950, wherein through multiple cases, okay, multiple MP Sharma, Kharak Singh, and multiple cases, we crossed the ladder from not recognizing privacy at all. Constitutional debates shows us that privacy was not accepted as a fundamental right, but it was considered as implied. Later on, they say that because the Constitutional Assembly debate has not recognized, we don't need to give recognition. But eventually, you can see that yes, the privacy has been recognized. And my point of discussion here is 2018, wherein Puttaswamy's case, Puttaswamy versus Supreme Government of India, wherein we have seen that informational privacy was identified by the Honorable Supreme Court. Okay, now what is this, or why such type of obligation is there? We all know that it is the state's responsibility to provide us and to protect us with the fundamental rights which are there. And then when that responsibility is there for a very traditional norm of privacy, then that has to be there for informational privacy as well. So we will see that how informational privacy is protected. So first, what is informational privacy? It is the relationship between accumulation and dissemination of data, technology, legal, and political issues surrounding them. Okay, so privacy is very, very traditional in nature, but when we combat it with informational word, automatically what is happening? Technological interference is there. It says that whatever accumulation and dissemination of data is there through like technology, legal and political issues surrounds it. So जब भी आपका data आ जाता है, ऑटोमेटिकली वहां पे इंफॉर्मेशनल प्राइवेसी आ जाती है, इफ इट इज ऑफ पर्सनल नेचर, इफ इट इज ऑफ सेंसिटिव नेचर. ओके, सो पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन जो है, जैसे मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया कि पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन इज वेरी जनरल. इट टॉक्स अबाउट योर हाइट, सेक्स, वेट, ब्लड टाइप, DNA, स्टेट ऑफ हेल्थ. बट यहाँ पे यहाँ पे हम जब डिजिटल ट्रेल्स क्रिएट करते हैं या डिजिटल फुटप्रिंट्स क्रिएट करते हैं या पर्टिकुलरली अभी अगर आप देखोगे तो हम सभी का my name is not Payal Thaure. My name is here quoted in this number because this is my Aadhaar card, and my Aadhaar card is required probably everywhere throughout India, wherever I go. I need to produce my Aadhaar card, and that Aadhaar card, all of you must be aware that it's a unique ID, and that unique ID is provided to me in this bits, wherein a numbering has been given. So Payal Thaure has one nomenclature, and the other numeric nomenclature I have is this number. So what is happening? All of these things are creating my digital footprints, are helping me. Information is used for mapping that individual. जितने जगह आधार कार्ड दिया होगा सब जगहों पे टाइप होता है, and then they all must be telling that what we are doing. Are we going for purchase, are we going for registration of new home, anything, my Aadhaar is connected. So in a way it is a very good thing that what is happening, that okay, the government is collecting the data, smart cards आ रहे हैं, सब कुछ एक जगह पे होता है, everything is good. But when everything is so good, then the chances of affecting that good thing, okay, becomes more or less fine. And then there is this non-personal data. Non-personal data is generally not related to individual, sometimes anonymous, like group information. What the PhD coursework participants think of, that's a group information. Probably may not affect your personal information. So इसमें हमें कम danger है as compared to the personal data. So how we are going to protect this informational privacy? So number one is identification and recognition, which has been provided by the Puttaswamy judgment. So till 2018, we didn't even recognize that informational privacy is there, which needs to be protected. So Puttaswamy made us to think about that, yes, my information in any form, okay, in whether it is an electronic or digital form, it needs to be protected, because when the government is giving me the choices, then it is the responsibility of the government to protect those choices. Otherwise, no point of giving choices. Now it is just like that, you cannot ask for my privacy just to protect my privacy, okay? So this will be a counter claim on what the government is providing to me, and then at the very same time they are just taking it out. Fine. So that should not be there, and so this has been recognized in Puttaswamy judgment. And then there is this Indian Hotel and Restaurant Association versus the state of Maharashtra. Now this is a very interesting case. Now what happened in this particular case, there was a CCTV installed inside the bar, and then there were, like, every day in that bar there were this performance of girls, which we say that bar dancers were there. Now after some time, the bar dancer claimed that this particular CCTV footage affects our privacy. Now technological interference was there, and the bar owner said that the CCTV is requirement, okay? There was this Maharashtra government guidelines, which says that every bar should have CCTV surveillance in order to, just as a safety mechanism, etc., etc. And then this bar dancer said that our faces are getting recognized in that CCTV, and then the CCTV video is saved from where that can be shared to anybody. And that's why, such type of surveillance is affecting our informational privacy, because when they recognize my face, they know my identity, okay, and I don't want to disclose that through this type of technological interference. And then the Bombay High Court ordered that bar that to remove the CCTV from that area where the dance has been performed, and then they say that it can be placed somewhere else. But these are the things which happen. So I cannot say that only with one aspect the information is generated and the other aspect should not be considered. As we have already discussed, that data is progressive. There are multiple ways with which this data has been generated, and that is why we need to protect the privacy element. Now, what are the possible threats? These are the possible threats. Number one is data trade, which is there. Then data profiling and inferred data. That is also, I told you, data ownership. Now, who is the owner? I am the owner or Truecaller is the owner? I don't know, because Truecaller is generating all my data. Data retention. Why Truecaller is retaining my data? Because I have already agreed upon. Okay, data neither forgotten nor erased. Now, this is the drawback of creating data, that it cannot be erased at all. Suppose you have taken any loan and you have not paid for 2 months, and then there is an online notice issued to you by the bank that you have not paid the EMI, and then after 4 months you repaid all that, but that 2 month notice which is already generated, in your name, will remain there. May not be in the first 10 page, but somewhere in the 200 or 300 page. Google में 000 आता है ना, o, and then on the upside you will find that 1,04,028 records found. तो वो कहीं तो आपका वो record है. It is not erased. Only thing is that you are not aware about where it has been kept. Okay, research data exceptions. There is an exception which is given for research, but again, how far that has been ethically used, I don't know. Cambridge Analytica is one such example, wherein the data which was available with data profiling जो हुआ था, उसके बाद governments or political parties particularly, they started using that data to reach out to the people before elections. And then there is lack of cross border protection, because it is everything virtual online, so even if you can protect, but the other country, they are allowing it, we can. UIDA agreement, there is very one interesting aspect which is there in UIDI, DAI, wherein under this agreement, under this Aadhaar agreement, there was this uh, provision, which was mentioned, which says that they will not share the data with anyone, but unless and until they feel this okay, yeah, Morpho and Accenture Service Private Limited. So they have this clause in that contract of UIDA, DAI, wherein it has been said that if required, okay, if required, then the data and the hardware can be shared. And who is going to justify? Of course, government, because it's between the government and that company. And then they decide on their own terms that when and how that data is going to be shared. And recently, अगर आप लोगों ने पढ़ा होगा, कोविन, आरोग्य सेतु, all of these website has leaked their data. They have sold their data to n number of portals. Not even to one. So these are the things which are happening with our data, but certainly we don't know that my privacy. I am a patient. I have done this. COVID में आपने देखा होगा, आरोग्य सेतु में तो daily update we were putting. That was the requirement. But what happened to that data? I mean, how far that data is secured? Nobody is answering, because that is not at all secured. Already that data has been sold off to all the pharmaceutical companies. You have been profiled for a particular type of business structure. Automatically you will be getting prescriptions or coupons for a particular type of medicine. That is happening because the data has been accumulated, the data has been profiled, and then the data has been harvested. And of course, as I have said, absence of informed consent, which is there, which affects my privacy. Now, what is the legal landscape? Certainly, there is this initial reference of Telegraph Act, which is there, particularly section 5.1 and 5.2, which talks about the secrecy of the message, and it talks about protection of that message, that nobody else should read that message unless in some circumstances. IT Act, we will not be going into the details of it, because there is one more special lecture which is exclusively on this particular act. So probably at that time 43A and 72A we will discuss, and then simultaneously there are these rules, particularly rule 5 and rule 6 of information technology reasonable security practices, that you need to read about. And then there is this Aadhaar Act. Again, Aadhaar Act, when I say refer to section 28, section 29 along with section 9, and then we ourselves will know the disparity, that 28 and 29 talks about surrendering our information to the government as and when required, but section 9 allows them to to share that data with anybody else in some special circumstances if needed. So this is the current landscape which is existing, and then this personal data protection bill, and we are expecting that this should get passed during this monsoon session. So let's see. These are the suggestions, particularly one on consent. Informed consent has to be there. Data localization. Again, I don't want to go into the details of it right now, but localization means protect that data from third parties and keep it with yourself. Data protection board has to be there. Then some exemptions. Then awareness needs to be created. Penal provision, strict penal provision has to be there for non-compliance of data privacy mechanisms. Okay, so these are the aspects which are there when we talk about data privacy. Now, if any one of you have any query, you can ask me. Video start.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
So you gave an example of passport.
Yeah.
Authority that basically, I mean, for us, basically passport is being managed by government, but government has further delegated it to TCS. So if the data is leaked in any way, who is to be liable for the same? We will blame government, or we will blame TCS?
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing, because see what happened, I already told you there are multiple times when you जैसे आपने I agree sign किया है वैसे ही आप undertaking भी देते हो, okay, for passport and for other aspects. Okay, so automatically we are surrendering there that my information is with you and now you are in charge of that information. Now if some leak is there, now so far, unless and until we have a very strong data protection mechanism in the form of law, and फॉर्चुनेटली या अनफॉर्चुनेटली जो भी बोलिए आप, हमारा जो डेटा प्रोटेक्शन बिल भी है ना, इफ यू रीड दैट बिल, इट इज मोर कॉर्पोरेट ओरिएंटेड, बट समहाउ just because sometimes the data is with government, we cannot keep them aside कि okay government के पास है तो आप पे हम कुछ कर नहीं सकते, but even this bill is more or less protecting or providing security from corporate perspective. They are not including government in it, and that is very very political in nature. Okay, that how they are going to use that data, to whom they are going to sell that data. So data leaks hote hai, it's not that ki data leaks nahi hote hai, but right now we are handicapped with this aspect. Of course we can go to court, but that is an individual to individual. Probably Najot wants to go to court, only she will go. Okay, but there may be millions, and it has been predicted that around 450 million users are there. Okay, in India, only in India you are using social networking and other digital apps, medias, which social media which are there. So how many of them will go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, and then you will get a subjective protection. But when it comes from law, okay, it is for everybody. So act needs to be there, some security system needs to be there. Now as I have said, IT Act bhi agar aap dekhoge 43A 4372, both this section that talks only about corporate bodies. They are not targeting the governments here. Any tampering of data, okay, any leak of sensitive data, the corporates will be punished if they are involved. And mind you, we cannot that will be other part of discussion, but Facebook and all these social media, they are not Indian companies. Okay, so they are here just like that. We, all of us, when we go on such social media platforms, we surrender. Okay, and their policy norms are changing after every 15 days. So for corporate, still we can say that extend 43, extend 72, but for governments, and that's a big thing, because now there are Aadhaar, now there is a PAN card, now there are GST numbers. So we are there with multiple smart card provisions. Okay, and who is going to secure that? With my, as I said, with my Aadhaar, you come to know all my Janam Kundali. Now, that Kundali is other thing. Now, Aadhaar is my everything. So, whatever is there in my Aadhaar is, and everybody who can, like those who can hack that system probably come to know. And then there is someone, you know, वो कहते हैं ना कि उस दुनिया में कोई तो है जिसके पास मेरे आधार का सारा डेटा है. He knows everything. So, on cloud, that data is available. So tomorrow if I get something, if for example करके देखना आप लोग कि you are just putting your आधार कहीं आपने किसी एक पर्टिकुलर चीज के लिए दिया है, एंड देन सी आफ्टर जस्ट ये आप करके देखिए ड्रिल, एक 2-4 दिन बाद आपको पता चलेगा कि सेम रिलेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन इज कमिंग टू योर मोबाइल फोन्स, बिकॉज दैट डेटा इज कनेक्टेड. दैट आप एक दिन मेडिसिन शॉप में जाओ, दूसरे दिन आपको बीपी का इंस्ट्रूमेंट का भी कूपन आ जाता है. So that's how quick it is. So it's there.
Thank you.
Any other query?
Madam, one more question from Gayatri Dive. Her question,
Yeah.
what are your views regarding the health card? This card, as announced by the government, shall contain the details of the medical treatment and medications a person has used or is using, and the disease or disorder one is suffering from. Do you feel that this is violation of our right to privacy?
See, again, I said there are two perspectives, and if assume inverted commas में assume करिए, if everybody is behaving ethically and morally sound, then certainly it's a good move. Okay, having a health card is certainly a good thing, because if something happens to me and if I am having some health card with me, or my database shows that I have this health card, probably that will help us a lot in saving the lives. But at the same time, we cannot just close our eyes from looking at the commercial perspective of it. The moment you have your health card, certainly your data, and I don't know if theories are believed, this COVID was nothing but a big conspiracy done by pharmaceutical companies. So this is also one theory, and because each one of us across world got vaccinated, fine. So imagine the quantum of money involved in it. So similarly for health sector also, you just cannot deny with that thought that when the health card is there, certainly your privacy will be at the peak of its vulnerability. Certainly, ऐसा नहीं होगा. And then again, my question is, if it is BP, diabetes, I am okay with it. But if somebody is having some sensitive disease, which I don't intend to be known to others, but if that health card is showing that, then that is open. Okay, may not be my family members are knowing, but somebody on the cloud is knowing, and then I will be the pro user from them, prosumer for them. Fine. So ऐसा होता है. So there is an advantageous side, which is good part, but we cannot say that there will not be any. And certainly, highest order of privacy violation will be there when the health card system will be there. See, health card has every sensitive data, my retina, my biometric, my DNA, my requirements, my health. Okay, everything will be there. So pretty dangerous.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
And just imagine if that health card is compulsory to all of us like Aadhaar, we have no choice. Okay, and then if something which a person is facing some sexual disease, and if he is not putting that on health card data record, probably it's worse for him or her, for that matter. So it's there.
Thank you.
Ma'am, last question from
Anything else?
Mr. Piyush Shukla. His question is, as EU has GDPR having extraterritorial effect that puts great emphasis on the protection of data of the citizens of the member countries. How firm do you think India stands in the same aspects, and what could be improved in that regard?
See, number one, GDPR works on altogether a different format, and जैसे EU में आपने देखा है कि मल्टीपल कंट्रीज आर कमिंग टुगेदर एंड देन दे आर वर्किंग इन अ organized manner through GDPR, and certainly GDPR is a good initiative, rather the only initiative so far which we can see which talks about protection of data, particularly when trade related activities are done. They have their own norms, like where the server will be, how the data localization will be done, everything. So they are doing it, and at the same time EU is वर्किंग इन कोलैबोरेशन, लाइक GDPR भी है उनके पास उनके अपने इंडिपेंडेंट लॉज भी है. सो 2-tier सिस्टम ऑफ प्रोटेक्शन दे आर वर्किंग देयर. नाउ considering that, if I try to apply that same format on Indian fabric, then to an extent it is not justifiable, because India is not a part of any union. Okay, we are a single country, and that too, see GDPR में क्या होता है ना, अभी हम थोड़ा सा बिजनेस लॉ में यहाँ पे जाएंगे कि there are multiple trade related agreements. Okay, sometimes there are bilateral agreements, sometimes regional agreements, and then sometimes there are transnational agreements. And then when a GDPR allows any country, for example France है या जर्मनी है या Netherlands है, so they have their own tie-ups, bilateral tie-ups, and we know that when a bilateral or transnational tie-ups are there, then they supersede the existing mechanisms which are there. We are not having that with GDPR or any of them. Then we are not having that type of tie-up with any of that country. Let us say there is no bilateral or transnational agreement. Then what we have to do is we are going to surrender to the GDPR if we are doing a trade with EU. So that is going to be there. So when it comes like application of a GDPR type norm, okay, GDPR जैसा अगर हमें कुछ हमारी कंट्री में करना है तो थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट होगा. What is required is that we should have a very customized and tailor-made legal fabric for our data protection. Now I will give you example of Philippines. Now if you see a country, small country like Philippines, they have data protection as a part of their fundamental right and part of their human right since 2011. Okay, and we are in 2023 and we are not even in a position to pass one bill which has been continuously changing as per our requirement and progression of the Indian society. Why? The reason is that we are occupied with multiple things at multiple level. Whether it is trade, whether it is technology, whether it is economic aspect. So ये सब हमको देखना पड़ेगा, and then we can have our data protection norm, particularly when it comes to India and other. Within India अगर हम देखेंगे तो so far what is the situation? The situation is, number one, the government is collecting the data through multiple forums. There is this Collection of Statistics Act, okay, which allows the government to collect any form of data at any point of time. Okay, so वो तो छोड़ दीजिए कि वो डेटा क्यों कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं, इस पे तो हम क्वेश्चन ही नहीं कर सकते. Number two, along with the government, there are multiple private agency. I gave you example of Airtel or let us say Idea or any company for that matter. तो इनका अपना जब when they come to us, okay, when the foreign company come to us, we have our own quarantine mechanisms. Okay, we have our own agreements with which they come to us, and in that case, if we compromise with that, now that is what has happened with Facebook or for, so we allow them to come on a particular condition of allowing them to use that data, or maybe say not allowing them to use that data. Then it becomes a problem, because if we allow them to use the data, then we cannot stop them. Right. So the choice is with the government, either they want to generate the revenue from the use of that social media or that corporate, उसका जो भी आउटपुट है यहाँ पे होगा, या तो उन्हें आने से मना कर दे और हमारा डेटा को प्रोटेक्ट करे. तो ये सारी ना टेक्निकल डिफिकल्टीज बहुत ज्यादा है, जिसके वजह से वी आर नॉट coming up with a very sound internal data protection mechanism. So EU has GDPR is altogether a different thing than what we have. And certainly, the thing which we began when we started identifying the data protection law in India, that time we take the reference of GDPR only, because that's the only document available जो थोड़ा globalized considerations पे बना है. But eventually you see, now we have cut down half of that. And now slowly, I can say here is we are not going with an integrated model of data protection, but we are going with a more convenience model of data protection. Convenience to the body corporates, convenience to the government, and so on, you know, and that's why I don't think हम उसको as it is यहाँ पे implement कर सकते हैं. Of course, GDPR और डेटा प्रोटेक्शन एक अलग टॉपिक है जिसपे हम बहुत एक्सटेंसिवली डिस्कस कर सकते हैं, बट कंसिडरिंग द टाइम फ्रेम नाउ आई थिंक बाद में कभी डिस्कस करेंगे. ओके, एनी अदर क्वेश्चन? Okay, if no question, we can wind up for the day. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And then one more thing, students, your assignments will be posted in the Google Classroom. Yes,
It
you
is
have
already
time
posted,
till.
ma'am. It is already
It is already posted. You
Yeah,
have
yeah.
24 hours. Everybody